キスしたいと読み直している読み直しているだけが読み直している読み直して読み直している読み直している読み直しているキスしたいと読み直している読み直しているだけが読み直しているしたいと読み直している読み直しているだけが読み直している読み直して読み直している読み直している読み直しているキスしたいと読み直している読み直しているだけが読み直している読み直している
Welcome to 1 Million Cups. All right. So for those who don't know me, I'm Marlo Anderson, the founder of National Day Calendar. I don't normally tell people who I am, but today, why would I do that? That's correct. It is National Coffee Day. How many of you have coffee? All right. Fantastic. So this is the first ever 1 Million Cups on National Coffee Day. How cool is that? So to celebrate this, I dropped my phone, this cool little sign. I'd love it if we could get everybody down in front here. We're going to take a photo of everybody to celebrate this today, and we're going to hold this up, and we're going to have 1 Million Cups slide behind us. So come on down, everybody. Find a place. Should we do it on the stage, or? Okay, so if you're comfortable up on the stage, come up on the stage. If you want to be down below, that's great. Step on my phone, Evan, that would be great too.
You got the insurance on that, right?
Yes, I do. Fantastic, everybody. So the only thing I didn't figure out was, is there a way you guys can take a photo from up there? Can you got it? Okay, thank you. Thanks. I love that we have such a crowd today. This is fantastic. Good morning. Yeah, just find a spot up here. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh, more coming on up. We might have to sneak a few of you down that way, I think. We're probably sneaking too far over here. I'll sneak over that way, too. We're all friends, everybody, so you might have to squeeze together here. Yeah, I think we're taking the photo from the booth, right? Okay. Okay. That's right. Hold your coffee cups up. There we go. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. That was yesterday, So just so you know, last night was National Drink Beer Night. How many of you drank beer last night and needed coffee today? It's planned on purpose, Yes, I should have called you. Went and drank beer. Okay, well, we'll do that sometime. There's other beer days, Yes. Okay. That's coffee abuse. Please don't do that. Oh, okay. Then it's H2O abuse. That's probably better. Yeah. All right. So thank you, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. This is fantastic that we're able to do that. Now, all right. So I was out walking last night. Dr. Doug Jensen is joining us today, and I was reading a little bit about his history. And I know, part of his history was a favorite childhood rhyme, beans, beans, the magical fruit. And so I was inspired to write something today. So, coffee, coffee, the magical drink. The more you consume, the more you think. Very good, everybody. The more you think, the more you get done. So drink more coffee and have more fun. All right, thank you. I will now hang up my entertainer hat for my entire life now. But welcome again to 1 Million Cups. I think I have the clicker here somewhere. So get checked in. If you haven't checked in on the app yet, get the app. If you don't have the app, check in, because this is the way that we can keep count of who's all here. So please do that. And please thank our sponsors. Lots of great sponsors. Yeah, give them a round of applause too, everybody. These are the businesses that make this happen every week. So we think it's great that we have so many sponsors. And of course, I forgot to turn my phone off. What is 1 Million Cups? So 1 Million Cups is a free weekly program that gives local businesses the opportunity to pitch their idea and engage their community for advice and feedback. And it's because of you that keeps this going on. We're at, oh my goodness, next year, or next week, are we at eight years next week? That's unbelievable. 8 years next week, by the way, everybody. So that's amazing. Because I think it was the first week in October 8 years ago. The big takeaway, can we change the face of our startup community by connecting local entrepreneurs over 1 million cups of coffee? We're at what in the community? 8,432 or something. So we got a long ways to go, but we're getting there. I can believe that, actually. So ask your questions at the end. After Dr. Jensen is finished with his presentation, you can tweet those to us or in your social media, hashtag 1MCND if you want to ask that way. Kate's going to be running around with the mic, right? All right. She'll have this big mug that Evan and Jania had 3D printed a while back. Adam did that. I didn't know that. Good job, Adam. Amazing. So, yeah. So talking to the mug. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to use that earlier, wasn't I? Because we got a mug shot earlier, yeah. Yeah. How many of you are new today? Oh my goodness. Big round of applause to the newbies. Please come back again. We hope that you enjoy this, and we encourage you to come back and be part of the entrepreneur community here in Bismarck, Mandan. Community announcements. Who do we have for announcements today? I guess we have, I think, just grab that mic right there. There you go.
It'll be up here in a second. If you're new, this is going to seem really weird. If you're not new to 1 Million Cups, it still seems really weird. But I went out of town for 10 days, and my zucchini are trying to kill me. So sometimes I bring zucchini to 1 Million Cups. I call it 1MZ, 1 million zucchini. And this is the runt of the litter, I know. But if you shred them, you can make fabulous baked goods. And they're sitting in a box, just like puppies. They're sitting in a box out front, and please take one home with you. This is the baby. If anybody wants him, let me know. Okay.
And just so you know, everybody, Johnny, it was the reason why we have a national day, Leave Zucchini on Your Neighbor's Porch Day. So just to let you know that, yeah.
Hey everybody, Kate here from the Downtowners. Just wanted to mention some of us, I know Chamber, the Downtowners, a few are on the steering committees for Together 2045, which is Bismarck's comprehensive plan. And so tonight and tomorrow night, they're having public open houses. They want to know what you want to see at the future of Bismarck. And so please come check that out. They'll have some interactive things as well as the planners there. And then you can also go to Together 2045 on Bismarck City website and give some feedback that way. So I know they're really looking for people. We had them at Street Fair, and they had some fun stuff to do and kind of get your ideas for the future of Bismarck. I don't have a slide for this, but I did want to mention our buddy Scott McCarthy, who's been on stage a few times. He needs some love from you guys, not doing so hot, not feeling well. So send all your 1MC love to Scott, and hopefully we see his weird mustache back here soonish. So Scott, if you're listening, hope you get better.
Thanks, Kate. This is me. Hi, everybody. My name is Lake and Ani. I'm program director at the North Dakota Women's Business Center. Because there's so many new people in the crowd, how many of you have never heard of the Women's Business Center? Good. Some of you are men. That's okay. I know you have women in your lives. So we are here to offer free and low-cost training and business and professional development opportunities to women. We also offer free and confidential business advisings to entrepreneurs. So in a nutshell, that's what we exist to do. These are the events we have coming up in October. So if you have female staff, if you know a woman who is looking to grow herself personally, professionally, in leadership, the Women's Business Summit is where you can find that. We've got 2 incredible keynotes, an opener and a closer, and then we also have a bonus event happening afterwards. It's our awards reception, where we are going to honor our Women's Leadership Program graduates, the Female Entrepreneur of the Year, and also the Woman of Impact of the Year, and you can buy separate tickets for that event. All of those are located on Eventbrite. You can find more information at ndwbc.com. You can find our schedule, our speakers, their bios, their beautiful headshots, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to know more, you can hit me up. Next, we have, sorry, Marlo, go back. Just didn't set you up well for that one. Yeah, so not next, actually happening first on October 5th is our Business Builders webinar. So we have a webinar series, but these are free and virtual. Thank you. This one's on maximizing the value of your business. So feel free again to check out ndwbc.com for those events and all of the upcoming events for entrepreneurs and business professionals. Now I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Lakin. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, round of applause. Any other community announcements that are not on the board? Any others? Okay, moving on. Oh, all right. I'm so excited. So this young man has had quite the journey to get here. I was learning about Dr. Jensen a little bit this morning. We're so lucky to have him here. He's been tasked to develop innovation technology centers across the country, and he's here now. It's just so cool that he's the president of BSC. So let's give it up for Dr. Jensen.
You have the flipper?
I have the flipper.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for coming out on such a beautiful day. I mean, how is this? The end of September, and look at the weather we've been experiencing. So it's just great to be here. Myron, thank you for the introduction. And as we get to Q&A and start having conversations, just please call me Doug. I want to have a kind of just an intimate conversation about some ideas and what we can do to help with our community. So as many of you are aware, Bismarck State College is changing its mission to become North Dakota's Polytechnic Institute. And what that means is a number of factors. And I did a presentation here about 5 or 6 months ago. I can't remember the exact date. And we talked a little bit about that. But coming out of that was a conversation. We talked about some ideas. How do we engage the community? How do we start something that will have a big impact over a period of time? So one of the concepts we've discussed is this concept of a digital hive. And so what is a digital hive? How many people here are familiar with the concept of a makerspace? Right? Most people are. It's a place where you have some tools, you have some equipment, you have some people, you have some talent, and they come together and they put together projects. So maybe somebody wants to build a piece of lawn art, or somebody wants to build a guitar, or somebody wants to, and they need the other people of the community to help them do that. What would happen if we created a digital makerspace? What about all of these individuals that we have in our community? If you want to play athletics in this community, you can play softball, you can play volleyball, you can play football, you can play baseball. There's many venues that you can go to that will allow you to pursue that. Well, what happens if you're a digital person and you want to do something with digital photography or digital art or servo motors or AI or artificial augmented reality? Where do you go? Those individuals exist. They're just not out in public. A lot of times they're at home. They're in their basements. They have very small network of people, but their network is vast. They reach out all over the world, and they have groups that they connect with. So what would happen if we found a way to get those individuals in a place where they could be creative, they could be entrepreneurs? What would happen if we were able to create an ecosystem for entrepreneurs that wanted to grow and expand the digital economy of this area, the gig economy? So that's what this digital economy, our digital hive is about. So as many of you are aware, Bismarck State College has been here. It's been here a long time. It's gone through a couple of identity shifts from Bismarck Junior College to Bismarck State College and now to the Polytechnic Institute. But I think the key one of the key points right here is a national model for innovative education and workforce training. How do we start connecting education to the economy? How do we shift the idea that education is a public expense to education as an economic investment? And the amount of time and resources that we put in that leads to that type of activity that will allow us to grow and build sustainable communities. So, the Digital Hive will provide an environment where digital creators, designers, engineers, entrepreneurs can come together and basically have a place to create. This is just a mock-up. We've had some of our team here, and I'm going to ask the BSC folks if you just raise your hand so the people around you can see you, because they will have information at the end of this, some cards and contact information if you want to be involved in this project. We're going to have a call, I guess, here to see if we can get some individuals to participate. So the idea would be to create this kind of a space. The space would probably have, at the beginning of it, maybe like a coffee shop to celebrate what we're doing with coffee, and a place where people could come, a place where people might be able to do things like TED Talks, very much like this. Then there would also be a workspace where individuals would be able to explore and create projects, work on ideas, kind of the maker space. And then behind that, we'll look at the idea of creating an accelerator. I'm not a big advocate of the term incubators. I'd like the term accelerators. So behind that, maybe we would create this space where these ideas, once they start to percolate, could all of a sudden then have a place where they could be grown, and we could develop these entrepreneurs, we could develop these businesses. One of the fantastic things you do when you travel sometimes, there's a little city not too far from here called Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a very interesting city. Sioux Falls, South Dakota has one of the largest number of small business developments in the country. They have, for some reason, they have this ability where like 2 to 3 people come together, create a business, create an opportunity, they grow it to like 5 or 10, and then it splits. And they create 2 or 3 more small businesses of 2 and 3 people, and they grow and split and grow and split and grow and split. They have this idea where they have this experience where they can take small ideas, turn them into a business plan, and take them to market. So this idea is really the purpose of the goal here. We should always start off with, why are we doing something? We shouldn't just be doing it because it's an item we want to check off, but the important part is the why. And the why, to me, I think, is a value proposition. We have a lot of talent in this community. We have a lot of IT businesses in this community. It can grow. It's one of the parts of the economy that does not require a substantial amount of brick and mortar to grow. We don't have to build new roads. We don't have to build new infrastructure. We need to make sure there's bandwidth. We need to make sure there's security, cybersecurity. But the ability to create and grow this business does not require huge capital investment. It requires talent. And we have the ability to develop that talent. So, the concept is connecting. What do we do to make this process move forward? Well, you'll hear us talk a lot about linking talent with opportunity. We have a lot of talent in this community, and we have a lot of opportunity in this community. The challenge is sometimes the talent's in one place, the opportunity's in another place, and they don't have a mechanism or a venue to start connecting and talking. The other part of this here, a place where we can create professional networking opportunities, where entrepreneurs, senior leaders, students, individuals in the community thinking about wanting to get into one of those areas. A place where they can come together and kind of have this incubator of thoughts, kind of a thought leader concept, share ideas where they can be together, especially in those long winter seasons. Where do people go? Where do they hang out? What can they do? What can they work on? The other thing here is provide a collaborative and supportive environment. Free thought. Try something. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. I've learned far more from my mistakes than I've ever learned from my successes. Far more. Because each one of those mistakes has pointed me in the right direction. It's got me closer to what I want to do. The idea is also, a core value would have to be, keep hitting the wrong button. Core value would have to be embracing curiosity. that free thought, ideas coming forward, and fostering new ideas for innovation. So the point of this is it's also about economic development. It's not just a space where people can come and hang out, another club or another venue, but it's really about stimulating the ecosystem here. Provide an ecosystem with access to digital technology, a collaborative space that promotes knowledge and supports innovation in a gig economy. How many people here have been starting to follow these conversations about gig economies? It's happening fast. It is going to be massive. And the communities that understand that and start preparing themselves are going to be the benefactors of that. We need to start using those types of terms. We need to start talking to our students in K-12. We need to start talking to entrepreneurs that are maybe in one sector and want to move to another sector. How do we transform the city of Bismarck, Mandan, the region, to become a player in the gig economy? The Digital Hive basically is a catalyst. The key term there is it's not to be owned by any one individual. It's not an idea that has ownership. It's a catalyst. The idea is to get that energy moving and to create growth and opportunity for that. Where the key part here is going to be about the idea of innovation and nurturing ideas. Once we get that going on, why can't we then tap into Small Business Administration, Economic Development, Chamber of Commerce, Department of Commerce at the state level? We are in the capital. That's the other benefit that we have. How do we then start taking those ideas to market? How do we start developing and supporting those entrepreneurs? So, it's about community. Here's another visual, what this might look like. It'll be a space where there would be a place where people could work on things. You'd have this kind of incubator space or accelerator space, a coffee space. People could stop down at 3 o'clock after a long day of work, maybe come down on a Saturday morning. Some entrepreneur wants to have a conversation about something. We bring a guest speaker in. Maybe we just host a course on how to develop an API. As some of you are aware, Bismarck State College, as part of its Polytechnic institution, we are working with Bismarck Public Schools, and we are putting stackable credentials into the K-12 world. We have a 16-credit mobile apps development certificate already in place. And students will walk across the stage in high school with a mobile apps development certificate at the same time. The certificates are 16 credits. They can be laddered, stacked together. 3 16 credits certificates is 48 credits. You add your 15 to 17 credits of gen eds, a person has an associate degree. Previous college I was at, we had 230 students a year graduating from high school and receiving their associate degree from RVC at that point on the same day. What is the financial impact of that? You save at least 40% of the higher education expense to a parent or to a working adult. The average age of a Bismarck State student is 25 years of age. She's becoming increasingly female. She's working full-time. She's going to school part-time. That is our audience. It's not just necessarily 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds coming out of college. That is the person that we need to think about. How do we help that individual? They're already cemented into this community. They have roots in this community. We want to keep them in those communities. How do we start developing an infrastructure that provides them with that opportunity, the networking opportunity, a place where they can go and hang out? We talked a few moments ago about the Women's Business Initiative. Perfect example. How do we start connecting these individuals to these resources that already exist? So this is to the point of the Digital Hive. The Digital Hive does not stop at one location. The idea is, how do we start taking this out to our K-12 partners? So I envision having a Digital Hive, maybe somewhere in a community downtown. There'll probably be a Digital Hive. I know there'll be a Digital Hive at the college. Schools already have some of these types of initiatives. So what happens if we started putting Digital Hives in the school districts? They would all be connected digitally. The students could use the Hives as internships, externships experience to gain field experience. We could run credit courses, non-credit courses, and we create this network that exists. And then eventually you could take that down into the middle school level. Start talking, 60% of all the jobs in the future will require coding. If you're not helping somebody or developing somebody with coding languages, you need to do that immediately. The more coding skills you have is going to help you with your career path. So we have the ability, which we've already started. A lot of this is not just theory. This concept right here is already in play. We also, Dr. Dan Langang's here. He's been working with the State Board of Higher Education for additional certificates, cybersecurity certificates, certificates above and beyond cyber, that individuals can start building those. The same thing we could do for adults. Why don't we have a place where adults can come by and pick up industry-recognized certificates, whether it's credit or non-credit, to start promoting that gig economy? So, the Digital Hive, this is, if you get a chance, take a look at this. What do you see? Most people see a bee. Yeah, all the little electronic parts are in there. Servo motors, sensors, etc. I think that's a cool kind of concept of, this buzz. We need to create a buzz. That's where the word, hive came from as I was putting this together. How do we create this buzz in the community that produces something valuable like the honey or the combs? And how do we do that over an organic environment where we basically have the little pieces and we can put those into place? But the Digital Hive is basically communicate and collaborate, kind of fly-free education and community united, and innovation thrives. A place where innovation will thrive. And how that thrives in that environment is really up to us. It's a clean slate. So that's the presentation that we've talked about here about the Digital Hive. There's a lot of this that's continuing to go on. You're going to start to see this logo here more and more. We're talking about putting this logo on hats or shirts or mugs or something. And it's kind of generic enough that it doesn't point an individual to one organization. It points people to a concept. It starts to let them be part of something that doesn't require a previous identity to be part of that. And so the call I have for the community is that we need your talent and your support to make this vision come true. It's really going to be about a community initiative, a support initiative to make this happen. We're going to need the public sector, we're going to need the private sector, we're going to need entrepreneurs, we're going to need leaders in the community, we're going to need people who have vision, people who have talents in promoting vision, people who have talents in helping us develop infrastructure. We're going to need to create projects to be a nice place where you can see businesses bring a scholarship and provide a student with an opportunity to solve a problem, working one-on-one with businesses. We are going to need a massive amount of support from the community. And what we're going to do is we're going to form what we call a business and industry leadership team. They're called built teams. Capital B, capital I, capital L, capital T. These are different than advisory committees. In the past, advisory committees are kind of like you get some faculty members and people, and you bring them together, and they know people in the community that have businesses or work in that area, and you bring them to the table, and you kind of tell them what you're working on, and you watch for nodding heads, and you ask them a couple of questions, and you thank them, and you schedule them to come back for a breakfast or a lunch in 6 months. That's kind of the traditional advisory model. Well, a built model is totally different. The built model puts industry, the public sector, and the private sector, more importantly, the private sector, at the table. We get those leaders, and we ask them what is happening, what is going on, what trends are they seeing? And then the college and the staff become the staff to support that initiative. So it is definitely private sector driven. And the model works out. We're using this whole model for our Polytechnic initiative. So what we've been looking for initially will probably be 7 to 9 members who are willing to come together, start tackling this, start putting this built team together. And then what we'll do is we'll add talent and we'll add people as the project starts to identify itself and move forward. And if you're interested in supporting this or you're interested in learning more about it, we have an address right here that you'll see BSC Digital Hive, and you'll be ability to you mail your contact information, and there's going to be some Digital Hive merchandise that we are going to put out in the community and to promote. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to ask for your help. If you think it's a good idea, help us. If you think it's a bad idea, tell us. If somebody else is already doing this in the community, we do not need to replicate it. So be glad to take any questions, whatever the protocol is, Myron, and
All right, give it up. So we'll just wander over this way, Doug. So how many of you think this is a good idea? I think you have your answer already. Are you a Star Trek fan by chance?
I grew up against the time Lost in Space,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I never got into the Star Trek.
So you're not familiar with the Borg at all?
No.
For those of you who are Star Trek fans, yeah. All right. So do you have a place that you've kind of maybe looked at in the downtown area, or a couple places that you're thinking that might make a good hive?
Just loosely. We've talked to a couple of people. I don't have an identity space right now, so I guess the answer is no.
Okay. Kate's running right here. Evan, you're first up.
Well, thank you for being here, Doug. I've got an interesting perspective on this. Johnny and I spoke with Doug, some months ago, and I think some of these were just loose ideas, and you have done such a phenomenal job of articulating this.
Thank you.
And I like so much about it. I like the low barriers to entry, the low capital expense, all of it. So good job on that. I assume you've been talking this around a bit, and I'd be really curious about what some of the response has been that you've seen thus far in the community.
I have been speaking about it. It was kind of interesting. I was at an event over here at Capital City Art Gallery, I think it was 2 nights ago, and a couple people came up and were talking to me, and they said, I see that you're going to be at 1 million cups. And so the word started to get out there, and I know a couple people have sent me email messages that they wanted to be here, but they can't be here, but they plan on watching it on line or watching it as recorded. And so there's a buzz starting to occur. I think the challenge now is we got to start taking that buzz and start to move it into more of a structure, so it's just not a bunch of noise and we lose it if we don't kind of get that focus.
And I don't mean this question to be wet blanket at all, because I'm super excited. But, you know, a few times when we've explored this concept of higher ed working and partnering with private industry and students helping to solve problems, the issue of intellectual property always rears its ugly head and has gotten in the way. Any thoughts on that? Is this a non-issue in this space? Am I just not thinking about this right?
No, I'm not concerned about that. I think one of the major focuses of a polytechnic institution is applied research, working with industry. So I think sometimes where this idea of copyright and so forth comes more in the research institutions around R&D, where you have certain individuals are researching a topic and they lock it down, and now they want to see, you know, what is the value of that. What we're talking about is more applied, skill-based. I'm putting more of a focus on developing the skills and the talents than I am developing the products or the ideas. I think any capstone course in a program, whether it's an engineering program or a healthcare program, or most projects have a capstone project, and you let the entrepreneur own the project. And if they want to get together and it starts to take off, there's ways to develop a memorandum of understanding who possesses what and responsibility. So I'm not overly worried about that.
And just a reminder for those watching us virtually, we are monitoring the feed, so if you have a question for Doug, hashtag 1MCND, and we'll make sure we get that question answered right in the back there.
So this sounds like a super fun idea. One of the questions I have is about the humanities in it. I know several institutions have started using digital humanities for their English departments, linguistic departments. Is that going to factor into that digital hive at all? And how might that be integrated?
One of the things that we're dealing with right now is we start expanding our next round of programs. Liberal arts and general education studies are core to every degree. There's no way to offer a degree per se without liberal arts and general education classes. You cannot take 120 credits of math and get a degree. You have to round those off. I think the key now is going to be working with those faculty and leaders in the liberal arts and sciences area, especially in the humanities, and how do they see their input into this? You know, how can they be part of this? We start talking about STEAM, right? Many people are familiar with STEM, but you start adding the arts, you know, to it. We've identified, I think it was on an earlier presentation, maybe we did it here, but we've identified those areas where the arts and humanities can play a critical role. And I think now the challenge will be, as we start coming into that area, how do they also, which they are the experts of those disciplines, how do they see it fitting in? Same thing as mathematics. I think mathematics is going to be more applied mathematics. Yes, the same concepts of math, et cetera, need to learn those principles, but I think where learning occurs is when individuals start to put it into an applied application. Same thing as writing. It's very difficult to, at least for me, it's very difficult for me just to write, you know, so many words on just a random topic. But if I can write on something that is important to me, that I can internalize it, I think it then drives, you know, my ability to complete it and to do it creatively. So I think that's the next step, is all these projects, there will be space here. I mean, ideally, what would be nice is to have a space near, if you had this merging of arts and the digital hive within close distance of each other, I think would be a really dynamic concept.
I would actually say that arts have never been more important than they are right now. And I mean, all you have to do is look at our GUIs, our graphical user interfaces. There's a reason why Windows looks like it does, and the games that we play look like they are. I mean, these are people who have designed these. I'm just using that as a very basic thing, but I just think it's so important. I'm not even sure why we even got on the STEM thing. It should always be STEAM to me. So, right over here.
All right. Well, I think my 2 cents on it. I just came from a conference with over 5,000 people who are, in essence, gig economy, learning how to market and collaborate and work together down in Orlando. So I definitely think you're on the right track,
Thank you.
Considering what I witnessed and saw and was a part of. Do you foresee that, like, one of the biggest things that's happening and promoting is the, you know, podcasts all over? Would you foresee like a podcast studio, some training, how to get set up, how to use this to grow not just your business, but the word and, you know, spread the ideas?
Yeah, digital communication, absolutely. Whether it's the digital word, makes it so much more accessible sometimes to people. They can just play it while they're doing other things. I was talking to a few folks before this. There will be, we'll know very shortly regarding the BSC Polytechnic mission and how much of that is going to be supported. We have some requests out right now for funding to support the development of that concept. If that happens, and I was talking to Patrick, and I said, we are going to have to very quickly communicate a concept to people that are not using traditional communication. If we communicate traditionally, we're going to miss the population. We need to figure out this population, these individuals, and their communication patterns, what they listen to, how they listen to, the length of what they listen to, what they visualize, what they see is totally different. And that's going to be a major factor that will be part of this digital Hive leadership team, is market, communication, how do we get the word out and let people see the value proposition of it.
Question online.
Yeah, on Facebook, Mike Seminary says, Dr. Jensen, I love the idea. Bravo. And
Thank
he's got
you.
a few likes.
Thank you. Michael was his name? Thank you, Mike.
Over here.
She's got to move faster. You know, one area that you haven't addressed, and maybe you thought about it, is, you know, the Department of Defense probably leads the world in new technology and new, new advancements and DARPA is like one of the key components there. Have you thought about bringing them in as a partner, maybe even the National Guard, which is part of that? But I think that military side of things might enhance too, because you've got a lot of people coming out of the military and trying to integrate them back into a workforce as well. So just something to
Absolutely.
think about.
That's one of the major concerns we have, is we have so many of our veterans, men and women, that have put years into supporting and serving this country, and they will be leaving the military and coming home. And we got to figure out how to take their skill set, their MSO skill set, and how do we then translate that, give them credit for prior learning, and then help them get the technical skills that they need quickly, so that we can give them a credential, or provide them with a credential, or provide them with a degree that they can build upon, and then start their career past military. And I think that is not just a smart thing to do. I think it's a personal obligation that we need to do to our military families.
I have a question, Marlo and Doug. How does COVID or change how people collaborate a little bit? Obviously it's not going to hopefully last forever, but how has that changed the way people are collaborating either on campus or is there still a really big benefit to being face-to-face with somebody?
I believe there is. One of the things as a college team, we talked a lot leading up to the fall semester, and even the feedback we got from the spring, students wanted to be back on campus. This generation, many of these individuals, and even the adults that are in our community, they need to touch things. They need to feel things. They need to put it together, take it apart. They need to, that's how they learn. And you can do some of that online, but I don't think you can do it totally. So the key is, how do we kind of master that mixture of a combination of online, face-to-face, experiential learning, and how do we do that in a mechanism that allows people to have access? The concern I have is that COVID has, I think, created a false dynamic that I can work from home and I can be functional, but then you lose all that innovation and ideas and conversations that occur when you're walking to a meeting, before a meeting, after a meeting, going to lunch, etc. And I don't think that that'll be sustainable over time. You got to create these spaces, but you don't want these spaces to feel like it's another meeting. Last thing I want to do is go to another meeting. Last thing I want to do is I want to go somewhere where it's going to be fun, innovative. I'm going to get return on that. So COVID, I'm not too concerned about. COVID's a time factor. It'll be over at some point. It's just going to be a bump in the road for us. But I think people do want to be involved. They do like to share ideas, and they do like to share successes with individuals. And even if in failures, it's the group that lifts you up. The last thing you want to do is experience a failure in isolation.
Go ahead, Evan.
Sure, okay. You've identified maybe 7 to 9 individuals to start, and then obviously a lot of other people supporting this. I guess I'm just thinking for people listening, and thinking, I wonder if I'd be right for that. Who do you envision kind of being that starter team in terms of experience, skills, age, all of those sorts of things, and then others that come back behind that and continue to support?
Most important trait's going to be passion, believing in the concept. When you get individuals together that believe in something, they will solve problems. It doesn't mean we're going to stop it at 7 to 9. I mean, if I get 15 inquiries and people want to do it, we are going to look at that. If we get 5, we're going to go with 5. We will then figure out, once that group gets together, they will know, well, why isn't, Bobby Jones here? Or why isn't Betty Lou here? And that will kind of create that environment. But it needs to be self-generating. If we go around and pick what we think are the people, then it's going to start to put up walls and people are going to feel like, well, I'm not welcome or I don't have the right skill set. We don't want to judge that. Just come on in and you try it. If it doesn't work, because what will happen is this 7 to 9 will eventually get probably around 12 to 15. But we want to give the group a chance to add those other members. But then some of these groups will break into working groups. And maybe there'll be a group on digital art. Maybe there'll be a group on entrepreneurs. Maybe there'll be a group on marketing and communication. And what they'll do is somebody from that team will take the responsibility, and then they will find their team that they need to bring together to move that forward. And then those smaller groups will then report to the business and industry leadership team to keep us all accountable.
Back there.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
You mentioned Sioux Falls and their successes. Have you identified what created those successes and this part of it, and do they do something similar?
I don't know if I can do it scientifically. The time I spent in Sioux Falls, it kind of reminds me of Bismarck. As you're aware, they have a little waterfront, but they have this downtown section where they just have little unique restaurants, bars, businesses, and they kind of all collaborate around this space. And they start to meet people in that space. They like to stay in that space. They like to use their bikes in that space, especially when the harsher winters come, and they're all within that space. The problem is that whoever figured it out or however they're doing it, you got to find these meeting places where they can come to when the weather gets challenging, that they can come there, hang out, feel like it's worth their time. I think it's purely organic. I think it's just something that it has happened. People have started to know each other. They meet individuals. They go out and they have lunch or dinner or a cup of coffee, or and they just start staying together, and ideas start to take off, and they have lots of models around her that they can tap into other people and say, how did you do your business plan, or how did you do this, or how did you do that? And it just starts to grow organically. I don't know if there's a scientific method behind it other than I think creating an environment like we talked about here where creativity will be recognized, rewarded, and it's safe, and we want people to feel free to be innovators.
Right here.
So just kind of thinking about, this concept, and it's all about showing up, I think, and connecting. And if you've got 10 people already in the space, when you get there and you feel like, okay, this is great, I'm coming back. But let's say when you just get this thing started, 2 or 3 people show up. There's not a lot of that energy there yet, and they don't come back. So, I guess my question is, how do you have some thoughts on how you get that initial momentum of, I think once it's there, it'll maintain, but just getting that initial amount of energy there, because the reason you go there is for that energy, but how do you create it in the first place?
I think it's very similar to fundraising. When I've been involved in fundraising, especially for a project, a big project, you do a silent phase. And you kind of make sure you got 60% of the commitments there before you go public. I think it'll be the same thing here. I think before we go public and really open it up, we would probably know by talking to some people through recruitment and kind of encouraging them and get a group of people there and explain to them that we need them to be there to help lead, guide, create that environment. So I think part of the work would be just don't kind of open the door and hope that people come flying through. People who know me will say, they hear me say this all the time, hope's not a tactic. It's not something that you hope for, it's something that you do. And I think we would do that same type. I think it'd be like a silent phase. Go to some business leaders. What are some projects? Go to the K-12. Talk to the college. Maybe we get some entrepreneurs down there. Maybe we announce it around a project for the community. Maybe there's something like the other night that they did for the, I think it was suicide prevention or suicide awareness, the Glow Walk. I mean, wouldn't that have been a cool project if people could have used LED lights and music and sound and so forth, and this group could have got, recognized. There's a person here, and I don't know where Luis is at, but Luis is here, straight back, if you get a chance to meet him. He's one of our students, and he heard about this idea, and he got fired up. If you get a chance to talk to Luis on the way out, in fact, some of the art that you're going to see up here is a lot of what the art that he has done. And I think it goes to that, idea. You put those people together, they know the generation, they know the people they're talking to. You get one or two of those little projects out there, Mandan Parade, 50,000 people, 4th of July weekend. There's another great opportunity. What would happen if you had something really cool, LED lights, or giving away little, things that would encourage people to be part of it? I think parents are going to love this idea, because every parent does not see their child being a professional soccer player. But they love music, they love art, they like tinkering, and we got to start showing them. One of the largest sports we have on campus, which one do you think it is? Esports. It's that mindset, it's that concept. Those are very smart individuals. So to that point, I think we have to create these projects. I think it'll come out. And we'll find some business that will provide, investment. They'll give us $500 or $1,000 or something to create something. And maybe we put a little solar thing on the back of everybody's, bag. Walking in today, and thank you for the logo, the patch. If we took that patch with that kind of bee that Luis put together, create a patch like that, hand it out. Those are the things that are going to people, because it's odd enough that you don't know what it is, but it's pretty cool. And it's going to require you to ask a question. And then that starts the spawning of it. My biggest concern is it's going to get bigger than we anticipate.
Yes. Perfect.
We'll find him on the way out, because I think here's some cards you're going to see. If anybody wants one of these cards, I'll give it to you as well.
Thank you very much. So, Evan, you excited about this? Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, yeah, I seem to have a lot of questions.
I seem you're monopolizing the microphone all of a sudden here, so yeah.
I'll stop soon. I think you touched on it early in the presentation, but kind of around structure and ownership, or the lack thereof. And I know even the 1 Million Cups, I think, organizing team is a great example of a very organic team. Nobody owns 1 Million Cups. It's just a group that are passionate about the community. So what are your thoughts about kind of an underwriter? A 501c3 is probably going to be necessary, but how do you envision that coming together?
How many people in this room are familiar with the DISC profile? It's kind of a personality indicator. I'm a high D, which means that you do not ask me a how-to question, because I will give you a how-to answer in great detail. So when people ask me a question, I think they want me to solve a problem. So that's what I'm really throttling back on. I'm trying to be very careful that I don't want this to see this is something BSC is creating. Because what that's going to do is it's going to start setting up a pecking order, it's going to start setting up a hierarchy, it's going to set the culture from the very beginning. So we've been trying very carefully to say, okay, right now it's kind of like Jell-O. It's moving around. Yes, the lawyers are eventually going to tell us you need to have a legal, if we get involved in a space, we're going to have, those days are going to come. But I want to stay as far away from that as possible and let the culture kind of set before we start getting into operational boundaries.
All right, our last question before our last question.
I'm the semi-last? Anyway, thank you so much. Great presentation. It's kind of perhaps more than a coincidence that this is happening on National Coffee Day, because it was meeting spaces powered by coffee that really transformed our culture beginning in the 1700s. That's why Paris became the City of Lights, because people wanted to stay out and converge and talk and create works of art and ideas in science. I have a question about if you've thought at all, began to think about, there's in education and in business increasingly, it's more balanced in North Dakota, but nationally there's an increasing imbalance in male and female, that we've gone from 60% of graduates being male to almost 60% female. And it's just these sort of unconventional things that might start attracting the men that are missing and young men that are missing from education and business and back into the flow of life. And at the same time, we don't want it to go back to completely male-dominated either, you know. So there's an opportunity, but also a challenge.
Absolutely. I think the key is going to be, we have to change our definition of education. Does education mean that a person completes a 4-year baccalaureate degree? Or does education mean that they've got the skills, competencies, and knowledges to pursue something that they're passionate about towards a high priority occupation of which they can make a quality of life income to provide for them and their family? I think if you set your idea that your outcome or your endpoint is a formal credential or degree, well then what's going to happen is you're going to end up being directed that way. I think the challenge for us as the Polytechnic institution is that credentials can be very small. They need to be industry recognized. You need to be able to ladder them together. We don't want to put people into terminal endpoints. Well, okay, well, you do this. Now, if you want to do this, you got to start all over again. We don't want to do that. But industry recognized credentials, maybe some will be credit. Maybe some will be non-credit. Maybe some will be workshops. Maybe some will be seminar. I see a point where people will be able to kind of create this digital portfolio that they will have all of these skills and projects that will be the outcomes. You know, you can say you have this, you know, course, but if you can see the project that the person created, that is a kind of another form of grade. And I think it all depends on, you know, where we can go, the flexibility. We have a lot of support right now with the K-12 community. DPI has been very supportive of us. Career and Technical Education, CTE or CET, has been very supportive of us. I think you're going to start seeing more dual credit in K-12 that is career-based versus just transfer-based. Why is it that we're only taking to a certain population and we're not looking at that total population? 70% of the jobs in the future will not require a baccalaureate degree, but they will require industry-recognized credentials. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop doing baccalaureate degrees. It means the pathway to a baccalaureate degree is going to be different. The pathway to a master's degree may be different. The other thing is if you can get the employers to hire the individuals at the same time, you basically take away the family debt. And then what does that do for entrepreneurs and people who want to be innovators or thought leaders? So.
All right, Kate, you have the privilege. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jensen, for being here. We always ask the same last question, and I just want to mention, if you want to attack him afterwards and ask him questions, this guy knows a whole bunch about a lot. We got into a weird discussion about downtown Pittsburgh, downtown Bismarck, new market tax credits, so this guy knows the whole shebang, so check him out for anything. I don't know. What's something you don't know about? Star Trek, I guess.
Star Trek,
maybe.
yes.
Oh, right, okay. So, Dr. Jensen, what can we as the Bismarck Mandan 1 Million Cups community do to help you and their Tech Hive idea succeed?
Tell the story. If you think this is a worthy story, tell the story. Second thing is get involved. Become part of our advisory committees. Come to the college as an adjunct professor. Come teach for us, either it's credit or non-credit. Help us develop those ideas. The operative word in a community college is the word community. It'd be very easy for us to sit there and do what we think people want. People are always a little hesitant to open up because somebody might tell me something I don't want to hear, and that's okay. But we need engagement. If you think this is a good idea, great. You're going to see a couple of quick things, and I'll be quiet. Start watching for your buses going around town. Very soon, you're going to see some buses that are going to be wrapped around cybersecurity and digital technology. The other thing you're going to start to see is a concept of a tech bus that is going to be created, a mobile kind of environment where we're going to be moving around the community, going to community-based organizations, businesses, etc., Lark's game, and we're going to start communicating to people the power of a gig economy and how that will impact our community. So please get involved.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Absolutely.
There you go as well.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Perfect.
Next week, mystery speaker. It could be you. Oh, it could be me. Well, that could be interesting. I don't get a chance to do this very often. Well, two things. Adam told me that anybody who was watching today and they want to have their photo photoshopped into the group picture, send them along. He'll do that, right, Adam? Okay, yes, all right. And let's give a huge thank you today to the tech team. They do such an amazing job. They really do. Unbelievable. So thank you, guys. Come back next week for the mystery speaker. We promise it'll be good. Have a great day, everybody.